Nisa is here, and I'm going to promote her to a panelist. So that way she should be able to speak.
Awesome. I think that's worked. And yes, I'm in attendance.
Perfect.
You're promoted.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then. I'm Chairman Thomas and be conducting tonight's meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody out to the, what is today's date? February 21st, North Ogden City Planning Commission meeting. We'll begin our meeting with an invocation or a thought from Commissioner Webb, followed which will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Nate Carroll. Commissioner Webb.
Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here as a city. We're grateful that we have this beautiful building to meet in and that we can discuss these matters. Please bless us that we'll be able to listen to one another and be thoughtful and make good decisions. These things you say in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll make note that Commissioners Bailey and Commissioner Mason are excused tonight. Commissioner Green is joining us online. Our minutes consideration and action to approve the January 17th and February 7th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Is there any notes or corrections that need to be made on those minutes?
Can I make just one comment on the minutes? So just so everyone's aware, we're changing how the minutes are being done. They've been brought in-house. So you'll see a significant reduction in the length of those minutes, and it may even get reduced again further down with timestamps put in there for future to refer back to in the future. But we're just trying to figure out exactly how much detail to put in those minutes. But I would expect that you'll see that change as we're moving. This is the first, these are the first two sets of in-house minutes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the January 17th and the February 7th Planning Commission meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Do we have any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest on tonight's agenda with any commissioners? If not, we will move into our public comments. If anybody would like to address us for an item not on the agenda, we ask that you do so at this time. Public in attendance here at the meeting is our applicant. Do we have anybody online?
We have one, but no raised hands.
All right. Well, let's just get into our legislative item number 5, Zone Text Amendment 2024-2. This is a public hearing for consideration and recommendation on a legislative amendment to consider amending the North Ogden Code Title 11-19-3 C5, design and location of parking spaces to reduce the required parking setback on Washington Boulevard. The presenter is Scott Hess, our Community Economic Development Director. Scott?
Thank you, Chair. So we have our applicant, Jason Westbrook. He's a business owner for Big O Tires here. He's made this request and an application to the city for the zoning text amendment. This is a specific call out to one short design section in the parking code 11-19-3 C5. And the code specifically says that you have to be 20 feet back from the property line for parking out on Washington Boulevard. If you'll remember back in 2021, the city amended the zoning ordinance to allow for side streets to be as close as 14 feet back from the right-of-way line. And if there was no asphalt or from the back of the curb, with the idea being you'd still have a park strip, a sidewalk, a few feet of buffer, and then a car parked there. So you wouldn't have drivers like nosed out and covering the sidewalk. That was approved and then inadvertently left out of the code. So we need to bring that back through city council now, or through planning commission and city council to put that back in when the code was rewritten, that one, for whatever reason, didn't transfer over. But I just wanted to bring up that background on the fact that we have reduced parking setbacks before. On Washington Boulevard, I don't know exactly when this 20-foot setback went in, but it was in place when Big O was originally applied for and went through its site plan. So anything relatively new, or, you know, really in the last about 20 or 25 years, has been held to the 20-foot setback, other than existing residential driveways, and maybe some small commercial areas that existed before, like I'm thinking Olive Flutter, the little business there kind of north of this. It's an old residential home where maybe it was either impossible or the parking lot existed prior. So I'd really like to give the applicant an opportunity to speak to this item. Staff's opinion, in looking at the entire area, we understand the need for Big O to have parking. We really do. And I think that it's an aesthetics thing. You know, we know that signs can encroach closer than 20 feet. Buildings by our city code can encroach closer to 20 feet. You can actually go 0 lot line, the way like the cannery is sitting on properties. But up and down Washington Boulevard, a high-speed corridor, this 20-foot buffer and the landscaping requirement just provides a bit of visual relief to this high-speed corridor, as well as just not having kind of additional fixed objects essentially there in the way. So staff's opinion on this is that we should retain the 20-foot setback on Washington Boulevard, look at flexibility again on those the side streets, and really give the applicant and the planning commission and city council an opportunity to decide what's best for your city. Because in this case, from a planning perspective, there really isn't one right answer here. It's aesthetics, it's feel, it's what you want the landscaping to look like. If UDOT were in the room, I'm sure that they would say, keep everything as far away from our corridor as possible, but you know, they only deal with within the right of way itself, which isn't necessarily this setback anyways. So if staff's okay, I'm happy to answer any questions, but if the planning commission's okay with it, I just would entertain the applicant, Jason Westbrook.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the applicant before we go into our public hearing.
When we originally
Please
applied,
state your name.
Oh,
and
sorry.
address.
Jason Westbrook, I am a North Ogden resident and a business owner in North Ogden. When we originally purchased and built Big O, we put in for more parking along that front along Washington. We weren't told that we couldn't have the parking along Washington because of the 20-foot offset. We were told that it was because of landscaping percentage.
Yeah,
Right now, I was talking with Scott that right now the current green space is 4,000 square feet. We're at over 9,600 square feet. That's what we were originally told on why we couldn't do it, is because of green space. We have plenty of green space. And the other thing that I'm looking at is, okay, so we're allowing buildings to build right on the property line, but we can't park. I'm not asking to park on the property line. I'm asking for a 6-foot buffer, 7-foot buffer, something to where I can cut into that and add more stalls up front. The aesthetics part of it, I don't understand the aesthetics, because if you're driving by, you're gonna see a car, whether it's 20 feet back from the property line or whether it's 6 feet back from the property line. You're still gonna see that. The one problem that I really have is, you know, when we built, I mean, we were told we had to have our buildings in so far back from Washington. We were told we had to have our parking so far back, or the parking had to be that off the green space. When they built the car wash next to us, the car wash was allowed to go closer to Washington. So now if you're heading north on Washington Boulevard, it blocks the view of our shop coming north. Well, now Lock It Up's gonna be building, or is in the plannings of building a new office across the street from us on Washington on the other side from us. And they're gonna be 5 feet from the property line. So that's gonna be blocking us from the south. So now we have 2 buildings that have been allowed to be pushed closer to Washington and block the view of our building, But we're asking just to be able to put parking there so that we can continue to grow our business. And it's something that's needed for us. We've been there, we opened there in 1999. And I built with my brother Mike's the original owner. I took over ownership last year. We went through and we didn't think that we would ever have a problem with size. When we built that place, we came from a shop in South Ogden that we had 7 parking stalls and 4 bays. And we were like, oh, this is bigger than we're ever gonna need. The second day that we were open, it's like, this place is too small. Since then, we've been trying to buy property all around us. And we haven't had any success to buy anything around us. We tried originally buying where they built the duplexes behind us and he wouldn't even entertain an offer. When Country Boy went out, we tried talking with them to do it and they wanted to sell everything off as a subdivision. So it's like, we don't have any options. We're locked up where we're at. If I can cut into the front, that will give me an extra 8 parking stalls there. If I can cut into I've already been told I can cut in the side. I mean, it's not on the books, but it's on the books. Is that on the 14-foot?
Yeah, we would honor that. The code is silent on that right now. It just says 20 feet back, basically, but we would, because that's an in progress now, and I reposted that public hearing, so that'll be coming to planning commission. We would review the new site plan application to that. That will be done before your site plan application is made.
So one of the big problems that I have right now, and it's, I mean, parking's the biggest, but so
Just.
I'm gonna have.
I can.
Did you?
I was just asking about the,
Yeah, one of our
Zooming in on-
commission members. So this is the Big O site here.
And actually, right now, we're 29 feet back from the property line, 28 feet back from the property line. So I could actually cut that front part there and add another parking stall
Yeah.
heading north to south. But once again, that was like that because we were told that we needed that green space.
And on this north side, this is the green
Mm.
space that could be cut
Mm.
out and create, a double stack or some more opportunities for parking here on the north portion. And my guess is that the commercial open space standards were more like 20% at the time, given the amount of open space they have on this site. And our current commercial open space standard is 10%. So that allows them
So
to be,
that corner could open up a lot,
yeah,
that back corner.
yeah, you
The
could.
back corner couldn't because that's a retention pond.
This
So
one-
I'd have to
this
go
one.
to the civil engineers to see what I can do as far as back there.
Got it.
The other problem that we have right now is North Ogden bought wells from the previous property owner, which is Roy Lance Property. They bought they didn't buy the wells, they bought the water rights. They paid to have the wells capped, but they're leaking. So I have springs popping up. I have a river running down the road right here in my sidewalk here. I have another spot here, in the driveway, the asphalt's starting to come, well, it's been coming up for a long time. We always thought it was because of the traffic. I was dealing with Jason, he's in water.
Rennie.
Yeah, Jason Rennie, and he sent over some things from the lawyer, and so they sent me with the well driller. So I've talked with the well driller. The well driller's like, yeah, North Ogden City paid this amount of money to do this. He's like, there's no way you're gonna plug all these springs that are popping up. He's like, the best thing to do is to dig up. So what his recommendation is to do is to dig up from here all the way over to here and basically put in a French drain. So I'm gonna have to dig up all that parking over there anyway. And it's like, I would like,
Speaking to the mic,
Oh,
too,
sorry.
just so the recording picks it
Sorry.
up. Thank you, Jason.
so yeah, so we would have to tear up all that parking. And so, I mean, I'm gonna have to redo that parking area anyway. So I mean, to have this on board to where it will help us with growth. Last year, we saw 20,000 customers. We're steadily growing about 15 to 2,000 a year. Right now, we're out of room. We're trying to get room for now to catch up, but also to plan for the future. As far as the other thing with aesthetics, and I don't know what all's going into aesthetics, but as far as look of having a vehicle up on the property. I don't know if that's what they're talking about. But I mean, if you, on our lot at the northeast corner, we have a big electrical box right there. And it's within that 20 feet, and it's been hit before. And it actually got hit by somebody traveling up 1900 that was drunk and went off the road and took it out. And we were shut down for a day because of that. We also have another power box to the south of our drive-in on Washington. There's also another power box that's right at the south corner. It's actually on the car wash side, but it's right out at the property line. And I mean, it's a big, huge box. These are very ugly. I mean, so they're not aesthetically pleasing, so I don't understand the difference between, I mean, yes, that's a utility, but if we have a car there, I don't understand the difference between that and why that is so much worse than having our utilities out there, something that's sticking out. North Island City was doing a good job there going through and beautifying the electrical boxes, putting sign, wrapping them. The two that we have on there, they can't be wrapped. I mean, there's so many different twists and turns to them that they wouldn't be able to. But we have that. I'm asking for help to try and make more space for our business to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant while he's up?
And so on that north side, how many parking spaces do you think you could get in there if you had to? Like,
On the north side, we have 8 right now. I'm not really gonna be able to add anything. I mean, I'm just gonna be cutting and pushing it further to open up that drive there. I could maybe double stack at that point,
something there.
but it's not.
Just thinking what your options would be to.
Well, and the other thing that I was thinking is if we couldn't get this approved, and I am able to cut 8 feet off of that side, then I mean, I could, just stack vehicles there, but
Maybe do something.
then that still becomes a thing of, okay, you're, aesthetically pleasing is a more aesthetically pleasing for me to stack cars. I don't know if you guys have ever driven by there
Oh, yeah.
on
I've
a
been-
day that we're packed and there's cars just everywhere.
Mhm.
I've parked in there. I'm a customer of
Mhm.
yours.
Same,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so I mean, whatever we can do, I mean, would be helpful. I mean, I have to do something because I'm gonna have to dig up that side of the lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I can get it approved to where I can actually make more parking stalls out of it.
Mhm.
But what about your exit entrance onto Washington Boulevard? As I've driven through and gone out of that, it's kind of sometimes hard if there's a lot of cars coming.
Yeah,
Would you want to, if you're gonna push this side out and open it up, would you want cars to kind of loop through here a little bit more and have something that, cars all the way down here and close that off?
to close off Washington,
Yeah,
I've thought about it. But it's kind of hard to say on that, because I mean. you
depends
are
on the number of
cutting-
stalls
yeah.
that you.
Sometimes that's the only way you can get out, because they're stacked up, so.
That's
Yeah,
true.
'cause I mean, that's the hard part is, I mean, sometimes
That's
to
true.
actually get them back in, so like if we have a snow rush day, we're actually pulling out onto Washington and coming back around
Wow.
1900 to line
Yep,
the cars
That
up.
makes sense.
So that'd be kind of hard now.
I wish you could have gotten some more land. It just would have made it a lot easier for you.
Well, yeah,
It sounds like you tried.
we tried everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad you're so busy. I mean,
Yeah,
that's good
me
for your
too.
business.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, thank you. We'll have the public hearing, and then if anybody says anything, we'll give you the opportunity to get back up.
Okay,
If we
thank
have
you.
questions. Thanks, Jason. Let's go ahead and open the public hearing for this. This is the public hearing to consider a recommendation to change Title 11-19-3C5, the design and location of parking spaces. Our public hearing is now open. If any of the public in attendance would like to speak, please, I guess since they'll only be online, raise your hand or type a message in the chat and we'll make sure you're heard.
There are no raised hands.
Okay,
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move into consideration and recommendation and discussion portion of this. This, having done several things along Washington and known what what it is. I think I agree with staff that the 20 feet is important. I know. So in our ordinance, we have that 20-foot setback. What Jason's referring to with the green space is, it used to be called landscape buffer. And it was still the distance, but it was referred to for landscaping. So it's been in there for a long time.
But there's a safety element as well as just
Yeah,
aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, when we looked at form-based code and some of the standards that we said, hey, we allow buildings to come up closer to Washington,
Mhm.
for how we want the streetscape to be and trying to help promote walkability and things like that.
Yeah.
The whole idea with all of that was trying to get buildings to Washington and parking lots behind.
And there was still a buffer,
And so,
right,
yeah,
on
yeah,
Washington,
but
right?
they could go close. I
Mhm.
mean, if you remember, the 7-Eleven was approved, I think, down on the corner of 1700 was right up close to
Mhm.
Washington as well. It was kind of a pull up. During that time, we were looking at form-based code and how we want that to be walkable. But this is parking lot. The whole reason I only bring that up is we were wanting buildings to get closer and try and put parking lots behind the buildings. So we
Yeah.
have those, you drive down the road and have all the parking lots out alongside the road. I'd like to be able to figure something out.
Just because it's
my
been such a
opinion is,
long-term
yeah,
business, in
we
North
would
Ogden.
try and figure out a way we keep that buffer there or
Mhm.
something there. But going down, shrinking along the other side of the road more. I know that detention pond, get rid of that if there's a way that, the city can give them some capacity in one of the regional ponds so they can shrink it. Or, or you'd have to go through that expense of putting in I install them now, I can't even remember the name.
The ones that are
The
underground.
pipe,
Yeah.
you stack the pipes along and bury it, so it's designed for underneath the parking lot. But
Yeah.
those are very expensive,
Yeah, they are.
and I think there's that regional pond down there, his detention is pretty small. If there is the capacity in the pipes to take some of the water, I would, see if there's a way a city can make something work to be able to reduce that, so they can expand that northwest corner.
It's a good creative idea.
Mhm.
Some give and take, I know the water there probably just goes across and dumps into Coldwater Creek there, so that acts as a storm drain, which then goes down and into the regional pond. So if that would be a possibility, I would say that, and, whatever we can do to grow to the north to help.
Yeah.
I know the stalls face north on that between his drive and Washington, so going north, if you can go far enough to double stack, that helps give some capacity, but it doesn't function so.
It's not ideal, but.
Yeah, it's not
something,
ideal, but
yeah.
at the same time,
Opportunities.
at the rate the business is growing, which is a good thing,
Mhm.
this almost becomes a Band-Aid anyway before you gotta move to a bigger place as well. And I think it's important that we try and maintain that corridor through North Ogden, but try to figure something out, if you're at 29 feet, that maybe gives you enough room, you could put some parallel stalls. I know it's not very many, but maybe 3 on that side. If you cut back to 20 feet. And then if the city can help in that corner with the detention pond and try and find room for 10 more stalls on the site, and I think that would be huge, but it's probably something that's gonna have to have some creative thought put into it.
Yeah.
So that's, at least from my opinion, reading through it, supporting staff of what the city feels like the desire is as well, to have that corridor. Well, what's your thoughts?
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
I think being a customer and driving down there, he needs more parking. There's no
Mhm.
question about that,
Mhm.
and I think it's tough, it's really tough. You're busy, and it's a good location. It's convenient. Sometimes I drive my Gator down there and, just put a tire in the back, and I like that. But somehow, and I think those are good creative solutions that you said, Eric, like the detention pond piece, and there'd be a little help there if that's a possibility, or, I keep looking at that north side, and it's at 29 feet right now, And how,
The east side.
the east side,
is
excuse me, it's 29 feet, and what is the
The
actual,
setback on the north.
the setback?
20 feet.
20 feet, so there's 9 feet there that could, when he redoes it,
So you could put a parallel parking stalls along that side.
okay, but you couldn't put like 45s.
Mm-mm.
It's not
No,
enough
45 is actually, I can show you. I'll pull it up in the code
Yeah.
and show you what it would look like. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think my comments are the same. I have 5 vehicles that I own, 3 kids that drive. Each one of them has tires from that big O. It's never once deterred me from going there. But I have had to park on the street, or I've had to, it been inconvenienced, I guess, in the sense, but so it's hard for me. Like, as soon as I heard this, I was like, oh, well, this is gonna be easy. There's no way I'm gonna budge on this 20 foot. And then I was like, ah, crap, it's big hole.
I know.
Dang it,
I
like,
know.
this is, this is something that I regretfully say, I want to stay on the 20 foot and then find other solutions.
Yeah, it's, it's always hard when it's such a long-term business
Yeah.
presence in our community. But, we have to go back to, this, not just the aesthetic, but the safety,
Mhm.
particularly along that Washington corridor. And we've made everybody else stick to that as well on all these new developments. And, as much as we want to sort of look at this one property and do something, well, yeah, we could just put it over, the problem is when we change an ordinance, it has to apply to everybody
Mhm.
along that corridor, so.
Yeah.
It's,
So we don't just
Yeah.
lose 14 feet. We lose 2 miles of 14 feet.
right,
And it's,
But I wanted to point this out. Parking design is kind of interesting. When you're at a 45-degree, the stall depth doesn't actually change from a 90-degree. So
Oh,
that
wow.
the stall length gets really long. They go to 28 feet, but a
Mm.
parking stall in the city is 9 by 19. So you can typically park the same 20-foot depth here that you can in a 45. It's more about flow and getting in and out and what you can do there. You need a little more room on a 90-degree stall to do the turn in than you do on a 45, but you really don't gain anything depth wise.
Okay.
the setback on the north side, what is it?
Under
know.
the new code, it would be 14 feet from the top back of curb. So
And
you'd
what
have.
has he got there, do you know?
Property
is
line
there
or top
enough-
back of curb?
Is there enough to like get a reconfigured,
I'd have to go
get
back,
creative?
I'd have to go back and read that code. It was measured from
Mhm.
top back of curb
Mhm.
or asphalt if there isn't a top back of curb. So we didn't measure it from property line. We allowed it to go to the right of way line. But essentially the parking lot would be pushed right up here to just a couple of feet behind the sidewalk.
Mhm.
We do have another example of a business that is situated like that here. This one,
Oh,
where the parking is closer to that
Mhm.
2275,
Mhm.
but isn't right out front.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm.
this is an older dental office that exists. You've got some single family homes. This is the Bank of Utah project that we had essentially the same
Mhm.
line from the
Setback.
north Zions Bank setback.
Mhm.
So did I mess up? Bank of America?
yeah.
Bank of America, thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
I keep saying.
Utah, America, what's the difference?
It's all the same.
Uh,
Bank of
About $4 trillion.
Sorry, that was real time. Meant nothing.
America with an M?
Sorry. So, yeah, it's a hard issue for sure. And I don't know what the regional detention is for this detention basin. It's definitely possible to stick it underground and then you could park on top of it. It's a cost. We do have several detention basins in the city that operate that way. So we could talk with our city engineer about that and you could consult with an engineer, but yeah, this is really a call for the planning commission. And then ultimately your recommendation will be taken forward to city council. So
It looks like you have some storage that's in, and I've seen those back there in those containers around the back. Is there anything we could do to kind of help with that? I mean, that's parking. I don't know what the needs are for your business there.
It's not parking because we're required to be 10 feet back from the property line on the back side
Oh,
there.
okay.
Oh,
So
the
we would have to
residential.
be back from it anyway.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you're real hemmed in. I mean, it's just you've maximized the site for sure, and the businesses in many good ways outgrown the site, and we love having Big O there, and it's just a matter of figuring out what to do.
The other thing, if I can say something again.
Yeah, well, you
so-
just speak into the,
Yeah.
like, well, it's up to the chair.
You're the only guy here tonight, so
So on
we haven't been here
the,
this late in a long time.
sorry, on the north
Just
side
kidding.
of the driveway on Washington, if we were able to do it, we could get 8 stalls there. On the south side, we have a big, huge electrical box there right on the corner. So we could still get 2 parking stalls going in east to
Parallel.
west there, so we could get 2 there also. We have a little section at the back that's actually part of the car wash. But he's like, well, I don't really want it. I'm gonna put up the fence here anyways. So we've just put rock there. But if we can go through and do the rest of the design, I was thinking I'd go talk to him again about selling that property to me.
Hmm.
I can add 2 stalls in there. I mean, 2 stalls, and 8 stalls. I mean, that's 12 stalls, which would
That's a lot.
really help. I mean, right now I have 28 stalls and 2 handicap stalls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that would really, yeah.
That's, 50% almost additional capacity.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm trying to push
45%.
for being closer to Washington, because the only way that I can utilize that on the south side of the driveway is by putting 2 more stalls there going towards Washington.
Can you get rid of those 2 little pop out things too? I mean, it feels like it kind of messes up your flow.
All the islands.
Yeah.
I think they're required, are they not required?
Every 10 stalls, you have to have a landscape island.
And so I was.
Can we let them
thinking
get away
about
with not doing that?
that. Well, I was thinking about that because I read that about the island every so.
Yeah.
If you go to Smith's and stuff, they don't have an island, they have a little diamond there.
I know.
that's every- How's that?
I don't know how Smith's was, we inherited Smith's. I don't know how Smith's, I inherited it. I'm not sure what the review there was, but every 10 stalls, we have a landscape island.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we did that to where we cut in, we would have an island on the north and south side of the driveway coming in from Washington.
Okay, well, thank
Just-
you.
As an applicant, the way, this is my understanding of land use law, and I wish that John Call was here to correct me, but you get the letter of the law the day you apply, right? So you have a site plan with an existing ingress and egress off of Washington Boulevard. It is possible, and I'm not saying that they would do this, but that UDOT would require you to close that access in order to make a change to your site. And they may not, because you have an existing access, but UDOT's access management policy right now on major roadways like this, and they look at this as a highway essentially, is to close as many of those as possible. So just know that it's not necessarily a guarantee, but it's a risk that you have, that when you start to make changes to your site, that UDOT might come in and say, we no longer want you to have this access. But my guess is that you have it and you're not changing it, you're not widening it, you're not doing anything. So you're likely to keep it. It's just, we don't, as the city, we don't control that. I mean, UDOT gets first stab at all.
Stay
of
on the
these
road, yeah.
projects.
Speaking from my brother, this is all coming from him. When we built the lot, the reason why we were able to keep that access is because it was already there.
Right.
So UDOT didn't have a say in it because it was already there.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, even if you're redesigning, it was already, that, we're not messing with the design of that
Sure.
driveway. We're
Yeah.
not messing with that.
Yeah, and that's not our argument. That's
Yeah,
our
yeah.
argument.
They
Yeah,
are
yeah.
changing the way they're
The flow,
allowing less of those.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
okay.
just things to consider when you do site plan. There's some things that you may have to change to.
Heads up,
But-
yeah.
But again, I think, it's best coming in and trying to figure out a give and take that works to help the best scenario that you can.
It may not help for your flow, but if they did, you could get more parking. And you just have to figure out how to reconfigure your flow. I mean, I'm sure that's not ideal,
Yeah.
but.
Well, and I mean, that's something I've thought about, but it's more of along the lines of, you know, if we can put our building right out there on the lot, on the property line, then push the building forward, you know, add on to the front of the building.
Mhm.
That's still not gonna help me with parking there, but then I can come around the back hopefully, but
Mhm.
it's
And that's
just-
a different conversation. but
yeah,
Unfortunately, you probably can put your building closer to the street than you can parking.
I know, and that's where it's hard.
That's
It's
the
like,
more
why-
expensive.
And so that would be my question on the safety aspect is, I keep on getting told that is, oh, it's a safety aspect. Well,
It's more,
if
there's a
you-
whole bunch of reasons, but right now our code is 20 feet. And so for us to reduce it from that, we got to look at saying we're willing to reduce that along the whole entire street. And right now, we're not feeling that we would be willing to do that because of the corridor that's created through there. And the street look. So we went through 2 years of, it seemed like 10, but 2
Mhm.
years of corridor study on Washington Boulevard and deciding what we would want on the streets, how do we want it to look over the next 50 years? And that's when we said, hey, we'd allow buildings to come closer if they would get rid of the parking lots along Washington Boulevard and put them in the back.
Well,
And so
we would've
that's
had
why
that
the
option in the
buildings-
beginning, we would have done that too, so. I
No,
mean,
that's all changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in
that's-
more
that's the
recent
problem, is
conversation.
We didn't have that option then.
But back then you said your building was twice as big as you thought you needed.
Mhm.
Now it's half the size you need.
Yeah.
So that's just progress, I guess, the way
Yeah.
things change.
But I don't understand if you have a building right on there, I don't understand why it's any different if you have a car 6 feet back. As far as aesthetics, as far as safety, I mean, if you have somebody jump a curb and hit a parked car, they jump a curb and hit a parked car. If they jump a curb and go through a building, who's sitting inside that building? Is there somebody in the office? Is there somebody that's gonna get hurt? You know, I don't see the safety issue there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other discussion or do we have a recommendation?
Where it's staying the same, how do we?
So it still goes to city council.
Right.
So it's either recommend that we keep it the same, or you can recommend we keep Washington at 20 feet and allow reduction along the north of the property, I say, to try and accommodate additional parking. Just really kind of what we discussed, or a recommendation of
Yeah.
change to what he's asking to.
And staff has a recommendation, right? And that recommendation includes staying the same on the front, but maybe
Well-
reducing it on the north side.
Yeah, and I didn't write that recommendation in for you, so I recommended that you hold the public hearing and you consider it, but your options are keep it the same, so that'd be recommend to the city council not approving zoning text amendment 2024-0202. Or you can recommend an amendment to what has been requested by the applicant, or kind of like confirm what the applicant has requested. So you got, those are your options basically, and how you want to take this to the council.
And we don't have to specifically mention allow reduction on the north side because there actually is an approved ordinance. It just isn't in the,
There is, yeah, and it's zoning text amendment 2024-03 that you'll see hopefully on March 7th,
okay,
6th.
but it's already been approved. Did you say-
It was approved in 2021, so we're looking at, does the planning commission want to re-ratify this
Mhm.
basically and bring it back through? Because it was one of those, if we had caught it within a few weeks of reorganizing the code and getting that approved through council, we would have just administratively changed it. At this point, it's been 18 months, so we just feel like it's, the best procedure to bring it back through planning commission and city council, but that one was approved. We've had buildings or site plans approved based on that reduced setback.
What was that number on the zoning text amendment?
The next one's, 2024-03. So it's the one immediately following this one.
I know none of us want to do it, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to the city council that we do not approve this proposed zoning text amendment. However, that we allow reduction on the north side in accordance with the proposed zoning text amendment 2024-03.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other discussion? Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Webb,
Yes.
Commissioner Nancarrow.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right, thank you. That'll go on to city council. We're not the final say. If they feel differently, then, you know what, go and communicate with them what you'd like and see if, you know, something you can work out.
And just procedurally, we typically skip a meeting. We wait for the recording to be available for the city council members to listen to that as part of the meeting. So this will be probably the second city council meeting in March, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, public comments. Do we have any public with us online still?
No raised hands.
Remarks from commissioners? Okay. Just looking at my schedule, I think I was going to be missing. I'm missing the second meeting in March. So I'll be here for the next one. All right. Anything from you, Scott? Scott?
Yeah, so we've got 9 days left in the legislative session. A little less than 8 days. It's been moving pretty quickly. The housing bill that many cities were really concerned about has stalled out and not moved forward. That's Ward's Bill 306, House Bill 306. But it looks like there's substitute bills that are beginning to pop up. So this is the kind of fast and furious week of the legislature where all these conversations that have been had and bills being drafted are going to start to come out. And I would expect an update for you in March. I'll be gone that first week of March, so Ryan will be here to run the meeting, and John Call might give you an update on the legislative session, but we'll follow back with all the stuff that we have to change, basically. I think I said last time the Southtown Center project with our consultants is all completed. So we've finished that project. We have the final plan. We're waiting on compiling that with our active transportation plan, and then we'll bring it to planning commission and ultimately to city council to update into the general plan. And I think that's all. We have several applications that are coming forward. So you're going to see some minor subdivisions and some minor site plans and different things. So building is happening. It's starting to pick back up, which is nice. Some of the subdivisions that we have that you might see things begin to hit the ground, but you didn't see are, if you remember, minor subdivisions that don't have any road right-of-way dedication or are fewer than 10 lots come just straight through staff. But you should start to see some commercial site plans coming through in the next few weeks.
Cool.
Okay.
Exciting.
Anything, Ryan? Okay.
Okay. Well, motion to adjourn.
Did you motion or you
Do
asked?
we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Nice.
I will move.
That's my
Motion
job.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thanks for joining us, Lisa.
Thanks, all.
Keep feeling
You're
better.
welcome. I'm getting there. I just didn't want to spread it to you guys, you know, it's a little bit like the plague. We want to keep that to ourselves, right?
I
Yeah,
do
thank you for
appreciate
not
that.
spreading.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you all for your time.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we
Take care.
appreciate your business. I like
Thank
coming
you.
there.